Hi guys, this is Mark. In this video I'm going to show you a demonstration of the new push notifications functionality we added in Backendless version 5.2. We have changed completely how push notifications work, how you configure them, and how they actually show up on your devices, both for Android and for iOS. This functionality in Backendless console is now available on the messaging screen, and then in here you will see the push notifications tab. The tab is rather complex, or not so much complex as really feature rich, and I'm going to go over the user interface to give you an introduction and demonstrate how it works. So you will see that it's actually very easy to use, and there is a ton of functionality that is available to you to send out very smart, very customized, and very graphically rich push notifications to your devices. To assist me with this, I do have the Android emulator and the iOS emulator. This is an actual device that I have connected to from my computer. So as push notifications will be arriving, or as I will be publishing them from Backendless, they will be arriving to those emulators. The functionality on the client side is powered mostly by the SDK that we provide for Android and for iOS. However, if you decide not to use our SDK, the push notification functionality is still available. You can still take advantage of it, although from the graphical perspective you would need to add some code to make the same thing happen. But if you use our SDK, then pretty much everything that I will demonstrate today will work out of the box. So whenever you switch to the push notification screen, you will see there are four menus right here. The first one is Compose Push, and this is the screen where you can actually specify all the areas of a push notification, specifically what the message says, and then this is the first tab. The second one of who will be receiving this push notification, and as basic as this part of the UI looks, it's actually very rich. I'll demonstrate in detail how it actually works. Then on the options screen you have the Android section and iOS, and in here you can set many different properties that translate to the look and feel of your notification. And then finally you can save all these settings as a template and reuse these settings as a template. There is actually a new API to publish push notification based on the template. So now let's just go over and explore each and every section here and see exactly how it shows up as a push notification on Android and iOS devices. Before we start exploring the user interface for push notifications, let me show you the setup that I have for the devices that are registered and how things are sort of wired up. So I have two devices, one Android, one iOS, registered with my application. And what that means is that there is an app that is running on Android and iOS that executed the register device API that technically would register that device with both Firebase Cloud Messaging and APNS, and then subsequently with Backendless. In Backendless, if you go to the data section, there is device registration table, and then this table contains a listing of all the devices for your application that have registered with Backendless. So in here you will see that there is Android device, and it shows the operating system version, and then there is an iOS device. Now also, since at the time when the device was registered I already had a logged in user, there is automatically a linking between that device and a specific user from the users table that creates the association between the device and a specific user account. This may not seem like an important thing right now, but you will see there is a very important set of features that come into play because of this relation right here. So what we established is there are two devices and they are linked to users. But let's go back to messaging. And then whenever you go back to messaging, the messages section is selected by default, but we are going to be exploring the push notifications section. So first things first, the Compose Push section consists of 4 steps. The very first one focuses specifically on the content of your message. In here, whatever the content that you type in, you will see a preview both for Android right here, and if you select the Apple logo, it will give you a preview for the iOS as well. So let's just start typing the content, and you will see that the preview changes dynamically. And let's say that the message will say 50% off for all product. This is the promotion that we're going to be running. In the title, we'll say mega sale now. And as you can see, the preview updates automatically, and you can switch to different previews for Android. It just shows you what it looks like on the lock screen, what it looks like in the notification bar, and also if you select Apple, it's going to also give you the preview of the push notification. The subtitle is also another element of the content that you can add to push notification. The subtitle will say, first 100 customers get a free gift. So now the content is there. Headers, we'll skip it for now, but I will come back to it and we'll explain what headers are. But the content has been established and we can move on to the who will get it section. And then here you define the actual audience. You'll define who's going to be receiving your push notifications. The most simple way of selecting who's going to get it is by operating system. So you can select either only iOS devices, and in my case there is one device. Notice that right here Backendless gives you a preview for the estimated number of recipients. In fact, if you click on this label right here, Backendless will take you back to the data section and will show you specifically what devices end up in this particular group. So if we click right here, you see that the device registration shows one device that is iOS. And notice that there is this filtering icon right here which shows that this specific view is filtered, and if you click on it, it just gives you a complete listing of all devices. But let's go back to the push notifications, the who section, and right now we have iOS selected. If we select all, it's going to be pretty much every single device that you have in there for a specific channel. Notice that there is a channel listing, and channel, you can have multiple channels. It's completely up to you how you decide to create your channels. Channels is essentially just a grouping, logical grouping for various devices. You could have one channel that includes all devices. You could have another channel that includes devices that need to receive only special announcements and so on. But in this case, we have selected channel default and all iOS devices. The segment option is the most flexible. That's the one where you can actually specify a where clause or a special condition that all the devices must match in order to receive that push notification. So this condition is actually the traditional where clause. If you're familiar with Backendless, you know that to run queries against the database, you use the where clause, which is structured almost identically to how you would structure SQL. So in here you can run a condition that would be applied to the device registration table, the same table that I showed it to you earlier. So this is the condition that would be applied against this table to get the actual devices that will need to receive that notification. So in that where clause that goes right here, you can actually specify and reference specific columns from the device registration table or all other related tables. So for example, if you want to reference a specific version of Android, then in here you will see that in the device registration we have a column called operating system version. So in here, in push notifications, you can say operating system version equals 28. So in this case, you get the estimated number of recipients 1, so only one device in my case will receive this. However, remember that I mentioned that my devices have a relationship to the users, and then in your case, if you register devices with a logged in user in the app, then you will also have exactly the same thing. It means that I can reference properties of users to define who's going to be receiving it. Let me show you how my users table is structured. So once again, device registration has a relationship to the user, which is the users table. And in the users table, I have all the standard set of columns, but I also have relationship to a table called address. Okay, so let's say, and plus I have a column called age, so which means that I can target users by age or by their location. And in the address column I have city, and I have let's just say, and in the address column I have the city. So here, by going back to messaging, in the who section I can say user.age greater than 20. And this will include all the devices who are registered by the users whose age is greater than 20. And in here, let's say I want to target all the users whose age is greater than 20 and who live in New York. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say and user.address.city equals New York. And that's going to be, and in this case, there are no recipients because I guess no one lives in New York. But let's say if we change from New York to Dallas, then it becomes one recipient. Or we can say anyone who lives in Dallas, so city is going to be in Dallas, and we also add Tokyo. So in this case, I have two recipients because both devices fall into one of these categories. So as you can see, this could become an extremely rich way of expressing your segment, of expressing the audience that you need to target with your push notifications. Now let's move on to the options section, and this section is the most interesting one because it gives you a variety of different options. The preview section will give you the best rendering it can. However, to see exactly how it works, you would just need to fire off your push notifications and then play with it and see exactly how they're going to be rendered, which is what we're going to be doing momentarily. Let's take a look at what these notifications look like before we make any changes in the options section. I will click the Send Now button, a notification went out, and here on our devices we see that notification arriving both to the Android device and to the iOS device. As far as the content of the notification, it's exactly what we put in the content section, meaning the one that is titled as what the notification will say. I will dismiss both notifications, and now we will configure some of the options that the Backendless console provides to you. First of all, let's set the large icon for the notification. This could be just the URL that is pointing to an image located anywhere on the internet, or you can browse, and here you will see the Backendless file storage, and you can select the file right from here or upload the file into your Backendless storage. I will select this sunshine icon, and it automatically puts the URL. And then for the rich media URL, it could be a larger image that will be displayed right in the push notification. So once again, I will select one right from the file storage. It's going to be this beautiful sunset image. Select. And also for the iOS, I'm going to make something similar. So we'll select the rich media URL. Let's make it exactly the same, the sunset. And also, I will configure a sound for the iOS notification. There is a file that is built right into the project of that app that registered for the push notifications. It is called custom sound.caf. And also on the Android side, we will configure, let's say, some button options. So as far as the button options, I have these demo buttons. The buttons, as you can see, they say reply and view message. So these button options, they can be edited or you can create new ones. You can configure up to 4 buttons for your push notification with its own label and the Android activity class name that will be handling your buttons. I will not put any just because this is a demo only to show you what they look like. Once you start building it for your application, just put your activity class name that is part of your project, and whenever the button is pressed, you will see that a request, an intent goes right into your activity where you can handle that button click. So now we have button options for the Android, and we can also configure button options for iOS. In fact, there is one that is called test. Let's take a look at what it says. So here we have button 1, button 2 with some button IDs, and you can specify whether authentication is required, meaning that if it shows up on the lock screen, then the user would need to authenticate to actually run the app. Destructive makes it a red color, showing that there is a destructive action, and foreground also controls how those buttons are displayed, whether they appear on the locked screen or not. So now we have button options for both iOS and for Android. Notice that for iOS button templates, these button options are supported for iOS version 10 and up. And let's just send out this push notification and see what it looks like. So since we made some changes, we need to save that template and send it out. Now, did you hear that that was the sound that is played on the iOS device? Here, if we click tap View, there is now this image that we configured and the button options that show up. Likewise, on the Android side, there is the same image and these buttons that if we click tap on the reply, then it is configured to the inline reply. So all these options are available to you without any coding. You can actually just configure your template, and that's how exactly it's going to show up. Also, some other things to keep in mind, that for Android there is also a concept of channel options. These are the options that are configured as Android notification channels, and here you can also configure your sound, the vibration pattern, the lights for the LED indicator, and control the priority for your notification. And when you go to push templates, and this is the template that we're editing, on the option for Android you can select your channel right here if you had one configured. Notice also that there is a way to cancel this notification for Android, which basically going to be a timer when that notification needs to go away. A bunch of configuration options, and once again, as you can see, it is very, very easy to set it up. The beauty of this template is that once you configure your template, you can start reusing it for dynamic content. But the question is, well, where is dynamic content here? And the answer is that on the content section, every single item right here, you see that there is an element that is called smart text. And then what smart text is it? It makes this content area completely customizable for each individual user. That means that you can start addressing users by name. You can use any kind of context of that user object that the notification goes out to, and use the content of that user object or any related object directly in the content of your push notifications. For the smart text to work, the devices that you send push notifications to must be associated with the corresponding user account. In my case, there are two devices in the device registration table, and as you can see, both devices have a relationship to a user account. And in my users table, the columns that I can use in smart text would be pretty much all the columns here, but I'm going to use name. And also notice that there is a related address, and in the address I can, for example, use a city. So let me show you how that would work with smart text. So I'm going to open my template, and then here, for example, if I want to greet the user by name, I can type in hello and click the add smart text link, put the cursor where I want the smart text to go, and select the user property right here. So for instance, I want to select name. Click insert. So now we have this placeholder for the smart text, which essentially puts the table name and then the column name. Click save. So when the notification arrives, it actually has customized content, because now we have the name of the user that is associated with a specific device showing up directly in the notification. And as far as the related column, let's say if we want to say that there is a discount for all products in the city where the user lives. So we'd say in, put the smart text, and then in here we'll put the actual name of the city. Select the address table, and then from the address table select city. Click insert, and now we have two smart text placeholders. Click save and send the push notification. Let's take a look. So now it says, hello Mark, 50% off for all products in Dallas and here in Tokyo. And that's the beauty of smart text. As far as the smart text, you can actually use it in all elements of content. Message, title, subtitle, all of these support smart text, and also in the headers. Speaking about the headers, they are particularly useful if you were to process push notifications in your code, and if you want to do something in your application in reaction to a push notification and deliver some additional content into your program, then you can use headers for this function. And that's pretty much it as far as the smart text. Finally, one other feature that I would like to demonstrate. Whenever you save a push template, and you have access to all of them right here in the push templates section. You can actually get the code that you can use, the API, to send out push notifications from your application based on the template right from Backendless console. So select this show code icon, click on it, and in here you get the API in various languages that demonstrate how to send out a push notification based on that specific template. And as you can see, for most languages, it really is, well, for all languages, it really is just one line of code to send out a push notification. Click copy to copy this code right into the clipboard. And one other thing, for every single push notification that you create, you can actually create a scheduled push notification that will be sent out per specific schedule that you can customize completely. So for instance, for this demo template, push template, there is a create schedule icon. If you click on it, it allows you to create a Backendless timer and lets you customize the schedule of this timer, which is when that push notification will be sent out, either once, in this case you specify the date when and the time when it's going to go out, or you can create a completely custom schedule. For example, if you wanted to send out every 2 weeks on Mondays and Thursdays, then that's what the schedule would look like. You can go with a monthly schedule and select the months when it's going to go out, specific dates, and then click save, and the timer is going to be created, and your push notification will be delivered according to that specific schedule, which is a very, very powerful functionality. This is it as far as the actual overview of the new push notification template functionality in Backendless. All of this information is already available in our API docs, so you're welcome to check it out. And please let us know what you think. You can provide feedback either via our support forum or the Slack channel. Thank you, and as always, happy coding.